example, I watch or have watched some episodes of the YouTube channel. They take very interesting. So, and some of my thoughts here are actually inspired by this YouTube channel. So I can definitely recommend watching their take on YouTube and other very interesting YouTube channels. So you can learn a lot about from YouTube. What I want to talk a bit about Sex and the City, and I will try to understand again why I think and assume why some of those characters at Sex and the City may have more appeal, or why we strive for it and why not, and so on. I mean, I don't want to go into details about the difference of the 90s. Of course, the 90s were different, and we talked about it a great deal because of the change of the internet and so on. Yeah, whatever. However, but some things always stay the same. So in that sense, I don't want to pretty much differentiate too much between our time and the past and so on. But I assume that those who listen or have seen Sex and the City, that you are familiar with the characters. Again, I watched some episode of Sex and the Cities. I do admit I did not watch the entire series. I think I watched the first 3 seasons. Yeah, it is probably not enough, but it is, I think, sufficient to make some analysis on this background. And what I want to start with, I mean, the first woman, in a way, that always strikes out in Sex and the City is, or the first woman who always strikes out in Sex and the City is, of course, Samantha. Samantha, in that sense, I give a small summary. Samantha is this woman who is driven by some sort of sexual desire. She doesn't want to commit to a relationship. She want to some sort of, if you want, shop around, have a lot of sexual partners, and this is in a way represented in a way in the series as well. And this is rather manly. I mean, if you only watch the Sex and the City, I mean, the desire Samantha some sort of represents or some sort of puts out there is actually a male desire. This is what you see in a way. And so you have all this prejudice. This is what you mostly have about man. I mean, this is some women think that men think almost every, I think 3 or 4 minutes about sex. Well, I don't know about that, and I have not asked a man, but some say that, think there's, I mean, admittingly in puberty, yes, assumably you think a lot about sex, but the older you get, well, I mean, if you think every time about sex, then something is not right with you. However, but in Samantha, in Sex and the City, you really see this perspective from a male desire, having a lot of sexual partners, to not commit, and talk about sex, some sort of, in a way, up, being shallow and so on. So this is not the slut, or if you want, this is, if you want, some sort of way, the slut, yeah, she's the slut and so, but this is always some sort of how women view men. This is mostly about it. And then if you then consider, yeah, why would the normal woman some sort of desire Samantha. So this normal average woman, because Samantha was in the beginning of the show very desirable. So why would anyone desire her, be like her, and so on? And the answer to them partially is because she represents a male desire, because Samantha in a way tears down this border between man and woman, this is what every woman in a way knows, that if you are for example, if you're a man, you can pretty much whore around, you have a lot of sexual partners, and this would be approved, this has been considered as manly, whereas if you are a woman and you have a lot of sexual partners, this is rather being considered as very negative, debauched, shallow, and so on. But in a way, in a society where women, some sort of, in a way, are confined in those areas, so where women always have to be this nice girl, where women always have to be this good girl, and so on. So this is the character for actually of Amy Elliott. Now I've forgotten the movie, but there's one movie with Rosamund Pike with Amy Elliott Dunbar, where she plays the character, where she some sort of reflects on what it's been like to be a nice girl. I have forgotten the title of the movie. This was with Ben Affleck, where she fakes her own death and incriminates her husband. However, you always see this barrier in a way that women cannot have what men have, and then this barrier then becomes in a way desirable. So what if you could just be like a man, just don't care about etiquette, don't care about protocol, and be like man, whore around like man. And this is what Samantha partially represents. So this tempting desire to be a man. This is what we talked about which is in gender as well, in female gender, this within the feminist approaches, that women in a way become more and more masculine. This is partially in appearance. So you have short hair. Of course, this does not mean that short hair mean feminine and so on, but or are in a way masculine or whatever. But in a way, it is associated with manliness, or having a rugged face and so on, or wearing manly clothes, have manners and bearing like men. These are all developments you see some sort of in some feminist developments. And this is partially some sort of aspiration, because man, despite the fact men are hated, because women fully claim that they have a lot of privileges because of their sex. However, because hate does not prevent that this manliness, this masculine bearings is being taken over from, because of course everything that's been dominant, everything that's been considered in public, everything that's been considered as taking up space, of course this has been associated with man, because this is some sort of historically grown. It has a history, it has a genealogy, because women were rather confined into their homes and so on, and men were some sort of roaming the streets, if you want. They took more space in the streets, and this is of course the reason why men always grew up in a way over generations with taking up space, more space in public. And this is then despite equality, despite emancipation, emancipation and so on. This is still a big issue in society and so on. So however, in order to come back to our discussion, so you see with Samantha in Sex and the City is this desire of women to be like men, to some sort of give a fuck about social convention, just don't care what people say about you, what people think about you. And this is what you see with Samantha as well. I mean, she has a very positive view to her sexuality, despite the fact that she gets cancer. So this is some sort of a bad woman in the society or in the TV show later on. However, but you see that she has a very positive view on her sexuality, and this is partially, you could say, a desire of women then as well, just to give a fuck some if you want, and just live out their sexuality, just be proud of your sexuality. This is still a desire to be some sort of manly and desiring, have a driven lust, do not settle down and so on, because if you only see, and there are as well as many references in the TV show that Samantha's desire is rather a manly desire. It is rather some sort of thrill, excitement, and you have a lot of men and or that you have a lot of sexual partners, and these sexual partners are in a way some sort of a trophy for you, but then it is partially shallow, whatever. But in a way, this is some sort of, you say this is manly desire. This is something you can as well as see if in some marvelous in some Marvel comics and so on. So this desire to fall out of the convention, or this desire to not follow the path what everyone wants you to be, and just to stray to astray and so on. For example, in Spider-Man, his Venom, this was with Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, 3, where he becomes more and more evil, where you some sort of see that that he wants to get away from this convention, to just do something for himself, be egoistic and so on, or only about or just don't not care of what other people say. And we talked about this as well as, if you live as a woman still in our society, there are a lot of conventions you have to follow. So despite the fact that you grew up or despite the fact that you live in Europe, in North America, whatsoever, of course you are not punished, or hopefully that you are not punished in an industrialized country physically, however, but you are still some sort of morally punished and chided if you stray from this perfect plan of a woman who always some sort of is obedient, has a loving husband, is a very blissful and content housewife, and so on. So this is ideal role model, this is ideal view, but still persists in our days, still in the industrialized country. And then of course then you have these etiquettes, if you want, these social etiquettes. They put a lot of pressure on you. This is partially sociological, partially psychological. However, we won't go into detail, but they put a lot of pressure in you, and then because of this pressure, you then some sort of desire just to break free, or just be like a man, because if you're a woman, you of course feel it as unfair that you have to follow social conventions, that you have to follow some protocol course, whereas it appears that men can do whatever they want. They can have a lot of sexual